We'll see. We get some people in here live, and we're live, but we'll see.
Wait, cool. So we got it recording. So
Yes.
we get a notification that you're live. That's cool, and it's on a bit of a delay. Make it happen. There we go. Oh man, we don't even get to see who is speaking. Do you see who's speaking?
I don't. So, Facebook user, what's your name? It's probably Megan.
Yeah. Well, it's also going to be a bit of a delay. So by the time they get the question and the answer, so we'll have to keep it going.
You have faces for radio.
That's right.
That's definitely not Megan.
We don't do this. We don't do this very often.
Hey, well, we're waiting to get some people in here. We're just going to go ahead and just do a little random talking. So, Jimmy, after our last episode, we got ripped apart by Megan.
Oh, that's yep. And I got some feedback from GD as well. He gave me a little crap. Everyone seems to like Twizzlers. I'm the only one, apparently.
Yeah, so I think we should give Jimmy a nickname, Jimmy Hemi. Is that GD?
Oh, do you have that that music going still? You can kill that.
Killed.
Yep. Thanks for helping us fine tune this and get this figured out. We'll perfect this process.
Yeah. So this is the first time that we're attempting this through StreamYard. Pretty easy to set up if anyone's interested in trying to use it. Pretty basic, really.
I like Hemi.
I like Hemi. I mean,
I like a Hemi, I should say. I like your sign back there, Chris. That's pretty cool. It's an awesome sign. We need to get
yeah, it's
ability there.
I used to have some blue lights behind it, and I just haven't replaced them. So we'll.
That was a lovely gift, wasn't it?
It was a lovely gift. Well, I don't know. We got some. I keep going back to the same thing, Jimmy. Every time we, it seems like every show that we've done for like the last month, I keep going back to the same thing where, everything is a distraction. Because what are the things that are not being talked about right now? All of a sudden now, the balloons, the whole Chinese balloon thing has gone away. We had the train wreck, the train accident, and really over the last couple of days, other than me watching the NTSB chair talk about it on TV, nobody's talking about it. Like, I watched the White House press conference yesterday and today, and really not a mention of any of it. So it's always interesting to me that you don't see how quickly these things go away, and what are they distracting from? I mean, I get that we have a 24-hour news cycle, right? Where something's big news, it's big news for 24 hours, and then boom, all of a sudden it's gone.
Well, what we've learned over the last couple of years is Biden has a strong connection with the Ukraine and China and all that kind of stuff going on over there. And so that's what really concerns me, is what kind of stuff is he working or what's he getting us into, really, when it comes to the foreign stuff. And I can't stand that. So yeah, they're throwing out UFOs and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, I wanted to touch on this, and because I haven't even talked to you about it, but did you hear about this cloud of dust, or this dust that rained down on everybody's cars and stuff today?
Where?
You didn't hear about it either?
No.
So Morgan and GD, they both heard about it. Morgan's been talking about it all day. Like, apparently it's a huge big deal. I honestly, I thought you were going to be able to give me all the details because it's been in like none of my feeds,
No,
not on
nothing.
what no, but apparently this like in 3 different states, I want to say like West Virginia, Maryland, maybe even Pennsylvania, but like crazy dust.
Hmm.
Um, unknown, and there's all kinds of weird explanations for it. I don't even have a good answer, honestly, of what it actually was. I don't think anybody knows where even what they're speculating.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with Ohio.
Which is weird though. I mean,
I'm being
weird
sarcastic.
either way. It's weird
You know,
either
who
way.
knows how
But that,
far that thing went?
but it's like it was just like just this morning or overnight, like literal. Imagine ash and stuff just pouring out like
Hmm.
a heavy, thick snow or whatever all over people's cars and stuff. And they're like, "What the heck is this?" So I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
we got a couple of questions here
Let's touch on that.
in the chat. One says, so Chris, what's going on with your Giants? You think they're going to sign Jones or Barkley? Oh, man, let me tell you something.
Does that mean either or?
I hope they sign Barkley. I don't. I don't think they should spend the money on Jones. I get a lot of I get a lot of pushback for this from my fellow Giants fans to include the ones that are in this house. And I just don't think Jones is the guy. I think they should go. He's going to want 40 to 45 million a year. They don't have the money to pay him, and if they do pay him that, then they just foregone else, everything else that they wanted to do to improve the team next year. So I think if they franchise tag him, that's still going to cost him 30 to 35 million, but I'm not sure he'll accept it. I don't know the rules of a franchise tag, whether he can turn it down, but I imagine he can. So he's not going to take 30 to 35.
Danny Dimes is a top 5 elite QB.
Danny
Man,
Dimes.
I think you have a fellow Giant fan there because, man, I don't know. Not many people are saying that.
Saying what? The Danny Dimes is a top.
Top
Well,
5 elite.
we have. I mean, one thing about Giants fans is we do have a cadre of they do have a cadre of Danny Dimes lovers, and I don't know. I'm just not one of them. That's all. Jimmy, I'm going to need you to take this for a second.
Okay. No, I mean, unfortunately I don't have a lot of comments on Danny Dimes, as he's certainly my competition in the NFC East. My Eagles certainly fell pretty hard in the Super Bowl. It was a tough one to take, tough pill to swallow, but I think they're going to be good for a while. I hope the Giants keep Danny Dimes. I think that won't be a problem for us. Even Saquon, when teams seem to hold on to QB, I mean a running back that is just constantly injured, it just never works out, and they struggle for a while. So, and I'm fine with the Giants struggling for a little while. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's but we'll see what happens. I'm excited for football again next year. The Eagles certainly surprised me. I didn't even expect anything much out of them this year, and they just held it together pretty consistently all season long. But all I can say is I'm happy for Andy Reid. But I'm done seeing the Chiefs win. I don't need to see them win anymore. They've had their success. We don't need another Patriots kind of dynasty, things like that. Chris, what you got going on?
Oh man, I had an emergency. My stepson took my MacBook charger, so I had to go up and get because my laptop was about to die. Anyway, problem averted. So are we still talking about Danny Dimes here or what?
Frozen. Okay, maybe it blipped out for a little bit. I think we're okay.
They can turn it down. Devontae Adams did with the Packers. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I don't think Danny Dimes is going to take anything less than $40 million. So I don't know what the Giants are going to do. Now, Barkley, the issue with Barkley is he wants Christian McCaffrey money, and I don't know if the Giants are going to pay him that. I think the Giants are looking around between 12 and 13 million, and he wants 16. So, I mean, it's only a couple million off, but.
And what I always say is a running back is the most replaceable position in the NFL. You know, they can, they even though some guys are fantastic, the difference between, you know, a top tier guy and the next tier that's cheap, much cheaper is minimal at best. You know, you can even get undrafted rookies that come in there and they can ball. They can, you know, really make it happen. So unless they just have dropping problems, you know, fumbling problems, I'd say let them walk. There's no reason to overpay for a running back, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially one that's not like, you know, obviously on their rookie contracts, they're not going to get, you know, they're going to get a rookie contract, and that's what they need because they prove themselves. But now you got a guy who's 5 or 6 years in, who has not proven that he can remain healthy, although this year he did much better. So I don't know. Yeah, and someone said in Barkley's defense, he never really had an O-line till this year. That's true. But even having an O-line, I mean, he had a decent season and he stayed relatively healthy, but I don't think he didn't have a Christian McCaffrey season. Man, we got some football lovers in here.
McCaffrey, I think, he surprised a lot of people this year because he started off the way I think everybody expected, kind of hit or miss, hot and cold real quick, but with the Panthers, and they thought that he was done, and they thought the Panthers made a great move by getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Man, did they fail there?
Yeah.
I mean, but maybe there was no chance he did well in Carolina anyway. But you know, anyway.
Yeah. So let's see. Somebody put until the end. I don't know what you're talking about. Aaron Jones, I think, is worthy. He's definitely a top 5 running back. Yeah, I agree with that.
Aaron Jones is top 5?
I agree with that. In the NFL right now?
It's hard to say because so many teams do the running back by committee that it's really hard for a single one to shine. Oh man, but yeah, that would not strike me. Aaron Jones being top 5.
But somebody else said trade for Jimmy G. I like Jimmy G. I just don't know if I don't know how he would do on the Giants. That's for sure.
I mean, there's certainly no way to compare him to.
Right.
There's no reason to lose anything for Daniel Jones. You know, I like somebody needs to stick with the system. That's why I hate teams getting rid of their coach every year just because they didn't do well. I mean, unless the players quit on somebody, that's really when you got to kind of cut ties. But let somebody develop a little bit, even if it's a coach. Like they just like rookie QBs nowadays, if they get thrown in their first year and then they don't perform immediately, they're just a bust player. And it's like, man, people need to let people develop and get settled in, and people make great strides from there. They're not always hot right off the bat. I mean, Aaron Rodgers sat on the bench for 4 years.
Yeah.
Still has had a ridiculously long career. You know, and you don't need to look at last season.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so a couple of things one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is obviously Second Amendment. You know, the Bruin decision that came out of the Supreme Court that basically destroyed any hope of most of these states creating laws that prohibit and restrict ownership of firearms. Well, of course, that doesn't stop these states from trying to get around it. So you got California, you got New York, you've got New Jersey, are the 3 big ones right now that are trying to push legislation through. Well, let me rephrase that. They've pushed legislation through to attempt to thwart what the Bruin decision said. for those of you who don't know, anybody who doesn't know, the Bruin decision basically said that we have the right to, the crux of it was the right to carry firearms outside of the home. So Bruin said, yes, you absolutely have that right, because just because you're outside of your house doesn't mean that you forego your right to protect yourself through the use of a firearm. Somebody put in the comments that Illinois is also trying to do it, and they're doing it. They're trying to do it in different ways. It's not just the states; it's also Biden's agencies trying to undercut anything that Bruin said. So what they're trying to do, federal government, is through the ATF. The ATF is creating these rules that prohibit certain things and make it difficult to own and possess certain firearms. The brace, I think it's the pistol brace rule that's the newest one, where it doesn't just make illegal the pistol brace. It makes illegal any weapon that can be braced. So any pistol that you can put a brace on, it now falls into that category. And in turn, that changes to also the SBRs, which short barrel rifles rule that they put in place. And so they're trying to use that too to get around actual laws that the Congress is never going to be able to enact any rules that they're, and that's why they're going around it. That's why they're using these other methods to do it. So California, New York, and New Jersey, and I guess Illinois, they're back on their whole what is it called, Jimmy? I can't remember.
Who?
They're assault weapons ban. I always have a trouble remembering that they call them assault weapons because nobody can define what assault weapon is. They still have to come out with a definition.
Yeah, but I think they can at least go to what was in place during the Clinton era. I mean, they did have a defined and specific, I guess, rule in place there that they'd probably go back to. But what is that? It's not accomplishing anything.
They can try to do that. The problem is what the Supreme Court has said as far as it goes is you can't ban or put restrictions on a commonly what's considered a commonly used weapon, right? And I can't remember the number, but it's well into the millions of the number of AR-15s that are owned. So it falls well within the definition of a commonly possessed, commonly used firearm, which negates anything that they're trying to push as far as confiscation or making it illegal or even I don't think they'll even get as far as ever making a registry of firearms. So, but California, Illinois, New Jersey, and New York are all still trying to. Now, I will say New York, they passed the new bill immediately, like within 48 hours of Bruin being decided. They passed the new law, which was more restrictive. And keep in mind, Bruin was a New York case that made it to the Supreme Court. So they passed a law within 48 hours of Bruin being decided, and it was more restrictive than what they were trying to enforce under Bruin. So, and actually Justice Sotomayor, who's one of the biggest liberal judges on the court, she actually went back to New York and said, you need to explain this because this is in direct contrast to our ruling. Even though she dissented from the ruling, she still pushed back against New York and said, yeah, this probably isn't going to fly. And then I think New York backed down and so they have not enacted at least portions of what they were trying to enact. So the court is at least standing together by their decision, whether they were in the dissent or whether they, voted for it. So that's good. In New Jersey and California, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, just came out within the last week and said that he, basically his assault weapons ban is effectively gone. So they understand that the rules that they're making or the laws that they're trying to pass are not gonna, they don't pass the smell test. So they're slowly but surely they're falling back on their away from those rules. They're still gonna try.
Yeah, I'm curious what they really feel about it. Do they actually think that is valuable and makes a difference? Because I don't know, the statistics just aren't there, and we've seen over several years now, many decades now, like that's not solving any problems. And looking at other countries doesn't help us either. The ridiculous stuff that Trudeau pushes, like, does he actually believe that like getting rid of guns gets rid of bad people? I just don't.
Well, I believe Trudeau believes exactly what he's saying. He is a socialist, easily. Yeah, and somebody just put in the comments, but yet these governors have armed security at all times. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because the rules are for
thee, not for me.
Yeah, rules for thee, not for me. And that's the way they. I think it was Congresswoman Mace, I think is her last name. She's a big, strong supporter of the Second Amendment. And she was talking to somebody. They had some sort of gun hearing or something recently. And, she started up and she goes, I carry a gun everywhere I go. And like everyone on the panel, all the Democrats like turn around and like, oh my God, does she have a gun on her right now? And she wouldn't say. She wouldn't say whether she did or not.
Those should be some of the easiest things that they should just constantly be calling these Democrats out on, the hypocrisy for that. It's just the same thing. The same deal with immigration and whatnot. It's just so hypocritical when these people, again, they support it in their words, but not in their actions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just saw a comment on this that says, hi from mommy. I don't know who mommy is, but hi.
Yeah, we don't see the names. We don't see names in the commenters. It just says Facebook user.
What platform it's coming from. So okay, hi mommy. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I think this year is going to be a very interesting. Your mom, Chris. Oh, hi, mom. Well, you called you. I've never called you mom, so forgive me for.
Hi, Chris's mom.
Hi, Chris's mom. But yeah, so I think this is going to be an interesting year as far as it goes with the Second Amendment. We're pushing up on the House Judicial Committee is starting a whole bunch. And again, this goes back to the same thing we talked about initially, where all these things that nobody's talking about anymore. All of a sudden, the House Judicial Committee is starting to wind up and starting to do their. Now, of course, you got the Corey. Hey, Corey, how are you? You got the Hunter Biden stuff that's starting to come back up. Now the media is not going to cover it, of course, but so you really have to watch. If you want to see any of this stuff, you're definitely going to have to watch the congressional hearings on stuff. And actually, they're pretty entertaining. They really make me laugh a lot of times because look, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't trust. I think there's probably zero politicians that I 100% trust. But I certainly trust Democrats a lot less than I trust most Republicans. There are some Republicans that I don't trust at all, but that's just me, I guess. That's just my independent mind, free thinking self.
Yeah, so I pulled up the live chat, by the way, on
Facebook.
the Facebook link, so I can see the users who type what the chat is there. So that's cool.
Well, that's good to know. That,
yeah, still learning this platform and seeing what
yes,
works. So
like I said, we just started
yeah.
using this platform. This is the first time we've run it, so we're going to have some. I don't want to say technical difficulties because it's not really that difficult, but just learning curve of all the features and those kinds of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, but yeah, you kind of have to figure out what works, what doesn't. Audio issues everywhere. I don't care who you are, how big your platform is. Everybody has audio issues and stuff, so getting that stuff worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you mentioned Lauren Boebert. She cracks me up. She's hilarious. She is a little firecracker. That's great.
She could be in trouble though. She barely won re-election. She only won re-election by like 60 votes in her district. So I don't know, and I don't know a lot about her district. She's Colorado, but I don't know a lot about her district.
Well, yeah, she's in a. I mean, I don't know about her district, like you said, but yeah, she's in a pretty liberal area. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And then also, I think she's only gonna get more notoriety. That should help her out. I mean, as long as she sticks with the group that she's with, the Freedom Caucus and whatnot, I think their arguments are going to win out because they're not just playing political games. They're actually speaking directly to the content, and that's been coming to light a lot lately. I think where they're actually, yeah, I feel like all we hear from the left is just feelings and personal attacks and things like this that are not actually, there's no context to that. There's nothing there. And yeah, that needs to be identified and pointed out. And like I said, we need to call them on all their crap.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the key. And I think one of the problems that the Republican Party has most times is they don't aggressively pursue opportunities that they have to really call some of these folks out for their bullshit. And I mean, they really never have. I mean, Trump, that's why he's as hated as he is, because he had no problem stepping up to a microphone and calling somebody out by name, whether it was the media, whether it was another politician, whether it was somebody in his own party. And people didn't like that. So
yeah, his tactics are really,
it's his delivery more than the content. I mean, the content, I believe the content of his message the message he was trying to send was okay. The delivery was probably a little bit more brash than people.
Yeah, I think Trump. I mean, Trump was probably already the best president in my lifetime. I mean, even though, yeah, there's plenty of stuff I disagree with, or plenty of stuff that I think he failed on. My point is, I think he could have been amazing if he had somebody who guided him just a little bit. If he let somebody be like, can you help me like handle or filter a few things, because just he turns so many people off with the narcissistic, egotistical comments and things like that. Everybody loves me. I'm the greatest. Everybody knows this. Everybody tells me this. I'm right every time. I've never been wrong in my life. That's, I just can't stand that stuff.
Well, the other part that was hard, that I think was a problem for him, was he did not put people in place that genuinely supported him. I think he put cabinet members in there that were probably pretty decent at the job, but they didn't buy in. He didn't have buy-in across the board on him, and not necessarily on his policies or anything like that, but just on him. Which is why you had the leaks out of the White House. I mean, one thing I'll say about Biden and Obama's White Houses is you don't see stuff leaking out of there, not to the extent that you saw under Trump. Trump's White House leaked, and that could have been the the career.
I think with Biden's a different story. They don't need to leak anything because the guy's a complete gaff fest himself. Like, he gets called out quite a bit.
Yeah, and the media is actually not doing a horrible job at covering him at this point.
On so much of his cabinet has quit and or left. Maybe not even necessarily his cabinet, but his staffers and stuff. A lot of people that they supported.
Yeah,
it's different.
So chat, put a comment in the comment box. Who do you think is going to be in the presidential race? And now I'm not talking primaries. I'm talking about who do you think is going to go up against Biden? I'm 100% convinced Biden's going to run again.
Well, point. I think I saw a headline today. Jill Biden kind of confirmed something about 4 more years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's going to run again, but we agree that he's going to be primaried, right? Like,
yeah, I think he's going to be primary, but the problem is I don't know anybody on the Democratic side that is going to legitimately be able to run against him. Kamala's not going to do it. Buttigieg, he's pretty much fucked himself out of any hope of winning a national election based on his disaster of a tour as the transportation secretary. Kennedy said he's probably going to run. And then there was a female Democrat, I think from New Hampshire, maybe Maine, that said that she was going to run. And I can't remember her name. She's a pretty insignificant person. But you're not going to get, Gavin Newsom is another one. Thank you. Running too. Now, Gavin Newsom may have legitimacy across the progressive stage, but I'm not sure how he's going to fare amongst mainstream, if you can call any of them mainstream Democrats anymore. So I'm not sure how he's going to play out nationally. But who knows? I mean, if they're just looking for someone to replace Biden, Gavin Newsom, probably out of the group I can think of, would be it. On the Republican side, you got Tim Scott, you got Nikki Haley, you got what is that? I don't even remember that guy's name. He's not. I don't even think he's a politician, but he just threw his hat in the ring the other day. Oh yeah. Actually, I don't know much about that guy. I'm gonna say his name starts with a V. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, Vikram something.
Of course, you got Trump.
I'm gonna pull it up here, but yeah, I wanted to touch on a few things because I mean, well, like you're saying about Biden though, like I harp on it all the time. I don't see him even making it through the rest of this. He is going to be on fumes if he finishes out the rest of this term. Like I just don't see him being able to physically take it. I mean, he has verbal gaffes every single day. He's still falling up or down stairs. The guy can't hold it together, and he's going to be completely weekend at Bernie's by the end of this 4 years. So him having another term is like completely out of the question. I think physically, mentally, whatever. But I wanted to touch on something that Corey said as well. Let me actually go back to that.
He said it's not Jesse Ventura. No, he pretty much. I think Jesse Ventura finally that guy disappeared. I think he's finally in a mental institution. After he moved down to Mexico and started talking about some of the stuff he was talking about, he just kind of disappeared. So.
Was he in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. He must have been drinking that Flint water a little too much there. But like I said, I wanted to touch on something Corey mentioned. He said that Trump is the godfather of make America great again. Very true. The America First agenda, and it's time for someone else to take the reins. I mean, I completely agree with that. I don't think that Trump has the ability. He's going to try really hard over the next 2 years, but I don't think he's going to have the ability to bring in both sides. And I think he's not going to draw any of that leftist vote, and he's already lost enough of the Republican support. But I do think I agree that somebody else should do it. Even though I'd love to have him in there one more time, just to maybe extend, have somebody else like DeSantis or somebody else that is in the VP position, and then take over from there. But
yeah, my problem with Trump goes right along the lines of what you just said. He's never going to get a Democrat vote.
yeah,
Okay, there's a portion of the Republican Party that'll never vote for him, and he's lost a considerable amount of independents. Everyone knows that elections are won by getting the independent vote. He's not going to get any of those. He's not going to get a good portion of the independent vote. He's going to get none of the Democratic vote. He's only going to get a portion of the Republican vote because the rhinos are never going to vote for him. The Liz Cheneys and the whatever that other jackwad's name was that was from Illinois, who quit Congress. The two that were on the January 6th committee. So he's never going to get those votes. So putting him forward as the nominee is a guarantee that the Republicans will not take the White House. And that's not to say that I wouldn't want to see him in the White House again, because again, my 401k certainly thought that it was good having him in the White House. But you're almost guaranteeing that that Joe Biden or Gavin Newsom or whoever are going to make it into the White House if Trump is the Republican nominee.
It does concern me that somebody may not be able to push that American First agenda as strongly as Trump. I think just Trump did things uniquely. He had a very strong edge when it comes to foreign policy, because he was dangerous.
Yeah.
He was kind of a loose cannon, so people didn't know how to take him, and basically they couldn't control him. So we need somebody that can't be bought and that can't be swayed. I don't know how much of that was a requirement due to Trump's ego.
Well, another person that we haven't talked about a lot, and for those of you who don't live in our state, we live in Maryland. Our former governor, Larry Hogan, he's been sending out flares lately that he may be potentially in the running for it, but he's the same on the opposite side. He doesn't have one. He's not nationally known. He has a little bit of notoriety, but he was a rhino. He didn't do anything in Maryland. Not that he could, because they had a supermajority in the assembly, but he thinks he's going to go in the ring. He's a big anti-Trumper, and so he's another one. Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, there's talk about him potentially. So I think on the Republican side, you're going to have a huge field for the primaries. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of it, we didn't have somewhere between 18 and 25 people, which bodes well for Trump in a large field like that, as far as the primaries go. What it doesn't do, again, is bode well for a general election if Trump is the nominee. That's where I have the issue.
Yeah. The other guy who just announced was Vivek Ramaswamy. So I'm very interested to hear what he has to say, because from what I've heard so far, he sounds like a very genuine candidate, and I appreciate that. I don't need these big names that are just big names. I want somebody who really understands the issues and isn't going to be attacked for all this, racial and gender ideology garbage. This is a minority candidate. They can't hold any of that stuff. I mean, I guess that's not true. They call these black white supremacists all the time. They're going to, what are they? The Tennessee, the Knoxville police officers, all five of them were white supremacists. Memphis. Sorry, Knoxville.
You got Tennessee on the mind.
Yeah. So, I'm interested to see that wide field, but even on the left, I really would like to see some good balance, but there's so very few honest politicians on the left. But any of them, the ones that are, And I would have said Tulsi Gabbard, but she's so
She's an
good
independent.
and honest that she no longer is part of the Democratic Party. She just doesn't fit in
basically got
there.
rid of her.
And what's his name? Oh, just left my mouth. The guy, the little Asian dude that ran the last time. That's not a.
Oh, on the Democratic side?
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
it's just him. I was just
Yang?
yes, yes. He was a super honest dude, very thoughtful. Yes, he supported UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody kind of turned against him. But the guy was very thoughtful and honest, and he was very supportive of a system that incentivized working and things like that, not just giving out handouts and things like that. So anyway, people like that think for themselves and they're not just trying to appease the leftist crazies.
Yeah, no,
that's who I want to hear and see.
That just came in is absolutely correct. The comment is, "Oh, the hypocrisy of that scenario. No riots, nothing. Oh, but if those cops were white, they'd be burning every single city in town." Absolutely, and that's how you know that it's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that the police killed somebody, because that story went away within 2 or 3 days. I mean, you didn't hear anything about it. And that's how you know that it had nothing to do with race.
Same thing with the mass killings that occurred. If they don't support the narrative that they keep pushing, then it just goes away really quickly, you know?
Yep, absolutely. And so, just like BLM turned out to be, and everybody who had half a brain knew that BLM was nothing more than a money grab. Basically feeding off of the emotions of people in the moment. And now what do we have? You have, I think 3 of the 4 founders of BLM all being investigated for embezzling millions and millions of dollars. Of course, they all bought their mansions in Canada, so there's not much the U.S. can do about that, I don't think.
Yeah, luckily, anybody that I think has any sort of political sense on the left or the right, they've all dismissed BLM at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you don't hear about it.
The only people I see are the people that that don't know anything about politics whatsoever. They just blindly support things. I mean, again, and they probably do it for good reasons in their mind, where they're just like, hey, I'm just trying to support my people or something like that, which I would still argue with. Like, we need to get more towards an American ideology. Let America first. Let's support each other. I don't care who you are, anything about this gender and racial ideologies.
Here's your prime example of not having an American first president. Instead of going to Ohio, where there's a town there of 4,700 Americans who are suffering, who are basically, their livelihoods are all but destroyed in that town, pending the end of, whatever happens with this, the chemicals and all that stuff that were spilled all over their town. Instead of going there, our president, on President's Day, is in a foreign country.
Giving away $500 million, and that's just kind of a drop in the bucket. But yeah, instead of supporting the people here, that just highlights that so much.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Ukraine, we have now given Ukraine, are obligated to Ukraine, $113 billion. $113 billion we've given to them. What could we buy here in the United States for $113 billion? Would we have a homeless problem? Probably not. Would we have a secure border? Probably.
That solves so much of the issue. I mean, honestly, securing the border would pay for itself. We don't even need to, really. I wouldn't even call that like an investment or a loss, I should say, because that investment will pay for itself.
Yeah, no doubt. And they just, but again, it goes right back to the same thing. This is not an America first president. This is the globalist, liberal, progressive, globalist view of what they think that this country should be. And, by and large, and I get people vote the way they vote because, there's some people that are just never going to vote for a Republican. There are some people that are just never going to vote for a Democrat. But at least have your best interest at heart when you're going to the polls. Because if you go and vote just because it's a blue or red, you're only hurting yourself in the end. In most cases, if you're not voting on policy, what the hell are you doing? I don't under. I have voted. I voted for Barack Obama the first time. I didn't vote for him the second time.
Get out.
Yeah, right. I did. Just
you said the first time?
Yeah, the first time.
Oh, you wanted to see.
Well, I mean, at some point, in some cases, you hope that the promise lives up to.
I don't know. See, I was way more concerned about him during the first campaign. I hear so many people say that I voted for the first election and didn't the second time. I see that a lot on the left, or people that kind of shifted from the left. But honestly, I was way less concerned about him. I mean, I still think he was driving our country into the ground over the course of his first term.
Yeah.
But I was way more. I didn't know where his allegiances were when he first came on.
Yeah, but I think that the promise, and call me stupid, but the hope that we would actually get a politician that genuinely wanted to do good things for the country, and I can't say that I think that there's been a president that has been disingenuous that they wanted to harm the country. I think that they truly believe some of the shit that they're spouting. They just have a completely different idea about how to go about
it. That's like the gun debate, in my opinion, because they genuinely want people to stop dying, or they don't want kids to be dying. They don't want people to be needlessly dying from gun violence. But their strategy going about that and trying to take away people's right to defend themselves is going to give them the outcome that they don't want, and they don't realize that, and that's what's frustrating.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and they don't. The problem is when they make that argument specific to guns, is they're attacking it against any statistical justification for what they're attacking. They're going after the AR-15. Oh, the AR-15, bad, bad, bad. It looks scary. It's black and it shoots a lot of bullets. And okay, well, 80-something% of the gun crime in this country, maybe even higher than that, is handguns. And oh, by the way, I can tell you, I can dual wield pistols and shoot probably many more rounds than I can out of an AR with more effective fire. So they go about it the wrong way, but that shows their ignorance. I mean, like calling it what did they call what the one congresswoman called it an AK-15, and
Joe Biden said it like an AR-14 or something. Yeah.
They have no clue. They don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
Well, let's just hypothetically say they were successful and they removed every gun from the country, and they snapped and all the guns disappeared. Would there still not be bad people doing bad things?
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line for me. And then what you just did is you eliminated people's ability to defend themselves, and not just against each other, but against the government, which we know historically has a 100% success rate of controlling their people, I guess, through force. So that concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't worry about it too much because, well, at least not right now. I think the Supreme Court has shown, and I think these states are starting to realize that this Supreme Court is not going to buy off on any of their kind of bullshit proposals that they're putting out there, or laws that they're trying to enact. So
I feel super lucky about that.
yeah,
Even though
and
it
thank you,
shouldn't
Donald
be,
Trump.
it should just be the case because that's the Constitution, and that's
Yeah,
what we have judges for, to really um, define, clarify, whatever you want to say, support the Constitution. But I feel very lucky that that's the case because I feel like the direction the country was going. I thought when Obama got elected, and then it looked like we were going to have Hillary following that we were just going to be in a downward spiral that we'd never get out of. So yeah, I'm glad that wasn't the case.
yeah.
So I wanted to also go back a little bit. We were talking about potential presidential candidates and who would be good and whatnot. Um, I want to say one thing about Ron DeSantis. Yeah, I think I certainly would support that. I think he has a lot of upside, but he would definitely have to kick it into another gear. He would have to hit a higher level of that America First agenda and have the backbone that Trump did, and be able to bring that really strong fear factor when it comes to like foreign policy and things like that, because we just don't know how he would be in that sense. He certainly had some backbone when it came to standing up against yeah, the regulations and stuff, the lockdowns and whatnot. So I appreciate that.
Well, and he's standing up against huge corporation Disney. He basically you know threatened him and then followed through. And I think Disney actually kind of backed down a little bit just so he didn't go 100% through. But with their tax, so I think the way it works is Disney is basically considered their own town or their own city. So they have their own tax structure with it internally, and they don't pay taxes to Florida. And he threatened to take that away.
Yeah, but I think that was probably some posturing. Like, he knows that he's got to play ball with Disney in the long run. Like, if they were to leave the state of Florida, that would screw over Florida big time.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there's any fear of them leaving Florida. I mean, that infrastructure that they have built there is virtually impossible.
Yeah, but I think they had some decisions to make to continue to invest, because I think that they were going to enact some bigger investments for the long term future. So I mean, I don't think it never could happen, but I think, because I want to say that he did end up giving them a lot of cuts, and took care of them, which, I mean, from a business standpoint, I think he did the right thing. Like, that's, you got to play ball, but he stood up to him, like you said, and is not going to stand for the woke garbage that they were trying to push.
Yeah, and as far as his running mates go, I see a couple people on here listed: Tim Scott, Ted Cruz.
Well, Corey mentioned that Ted Cruz is not likely going to run. I think he will. Like, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Well, Ted Cruz doesn't have a lot of favorability even within his own party.
I think that's the case, but I would ask why, though, because
he's an asshole. They don't like him.
I guess I don't see that. I think he's very well reasoned. Like, when he hammers a lot of those potential judge candidates, and I don't have much against the guy, because I mean, I don't like all politicians do the nature of what they got to do, but I don't think that he's bought and sold. I think he's pretty well, like I said, reasoned and principled, that he would do a pretty good job. Like, I didn't support him when he first was running for president, but I definitely don't dislike the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never met him, so I don't know what he's like in real life. But all indications is that he walks around that Senate building like he's the king, and that's it's
Maybe
more of a personality. I think it's more of a personality thing that people who know him don't like him, than it is maybe a policy thing.
He doesn't come off to me as like just like a jerk to people. Like he would be a jerk to people, like so many Democrats that I see would. Can you imagine, like, Adam Schiff having a conversation?
Doesn't like him.
I think you're right there. Let's go off of his opinion. I sure hope he runs.
Oh God, please no. Well, I did hear a tidbit that Liz Cheney is thinking about running. That would be hilarious.
A Beto and Stacey Abrams ticket.
Ooh, that'd be nasty. She can't even win in Georgia.
And he can't win in
And he can't
Texas.
win in
Yeah,
Texas,
the biggest
yeah.
losers,
That's a
think
double
that
losing
they're going to
ticket.
go for the presidency.
Hey, we appreciate that you all got on tonight and jumped in here and listened to us. The email address for the podcast is right on the screen. Send us an email with topics. If you want to be on the show, we want to hear from you. We'd love to have you on. I think that we're going to do more of these. And I only came up with this about 2 days ago, so not a lot of lead time for people to, kind of commit to be on it. But we wanted to start doing it, and I think it's good. I like it. Let us know, though. Let us know what you think. And
Yeah, I'm curious what you think about the format. Is it easy? Is it relatively easy to connect to? Is there any problems with just listening as you would normally, I guess? What's the difference? What do you think? Yeah. And keep throwing those topics out there, and we're happy to engage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we specifically, we want to talk to anybody who is not a conservative or a Republican. We would love. We always want to have you on the show.
I'm always looking. Yeah.
We're not going to be disrespectful as long as you're not disrespectful. We want to hear what you have to say. We're more than open to hearing your viewpoint on something. Just don't get upset if we call you out for something that you say is bullshit. And I got to give a quick shout out to Taylor, little T. Hi, buddy. And keep going with that wrestling. I saw your videos. You're doing a great job. We're going to be back with Trash Talk Tuesday. This might be a great venue for Trash Talking Tuesday, too.
There you go.
But yeah, send us an email. It's right there on the screen, agpodcast13@yahoo.com. We'd love to get your messages. We'll read your messages on air, and we will be back Tuesday. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for joining us tonight.